These things are the bane of my life. If you've ever tried to take one off without it shooting out somewhere, you know what I'm talking about. It says remove cover screws 1 and cover plate 2. That would be those babies right up top. That's interesting to start off with. Alright. This one popped up, no troubles at all. This one, on the other hand, didn't. I would say that's part of my problem. Part of my problem when it comes to this carby. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm not sure if that's a problem, but there's a lot of varnish and build up on there. So it's either been sitting dry for a long time, or there's been some water in this. There's some corrosion on that spring. Interesting. Rightio. Alright, so whoever doesn't, those who don't know much about carbies, you got your rod, your spring and your piston. They're your cover plates, and all of this is fairly specific to this carby. Like I've seen Holy carbies and old I think Autolite maybe carbies a long time ago in different cars. Yeah, there's a little spring just under here. Just pull that down and that'll be your retaining spring for your rod. Pump connecting rod, that's this one. Rightio. What else does it say? It says remove pistons, rods and springs as assembly. Rods removed from piston. Remove vacuum piston springs. 5. That's number 5. Alright, so the vacuum piston springs, they were these. So it said remove pin spring, which is this this setup over here. Over here, remove that, and then got the rod as well. And all that's pretty much done, good to go. Right, so this is 19, 20 and 21, the S link, the pump lever, and the pump linkage with the nut that went through there. Remove fuel inlet fitting and gasket, 24. Fuel inlet fitting and gasket. Gotcha. 3/4, I think. Although it's already, yep. 3/4 inch. There is gasket on there, but it's very, very thin and brittle. Alright, so that's going to have to be part of the cleaning process, I think. Right, what else do we move? Alright, so we're going to remove all this choke deal. Screwdriver. Way too small. So that's these up over here, of which I am missing one. That was from original. So I actually didn't have it when I first bought the car. So that's the electric choke. And what it is there's a motor in there that turns that and turns that as a spring. There's a little actuator here that modifies the choke as required, as you can see. Pretty easy design, but it's quite effective. I'm impressed. I keep talking about doing mechanical engineering, but some of the things that kind of thoroughly astound me or impress me is the fact that things that I thought were highly complex, like a choke, aren't. They're actually quite easy. So this would technically just on start if the engine is cold, make it more rich, give it a couple of pumps, the car would kick off. Once it starts to warm up, it'll dial itself back. But the mechanism to do that is not rocket science. It's actually really easy. I'm impressed. Gasket for that. I'm gonna try and keep all this stuff together as is, just so I don't lose everything. So it says remove the thermostatic housing, the retaining clips. So thermostatic housing, the retaining clips, the gasket, and I believe it's saying to remove the plunger, this actuator here. Oh, that comes out. That, my friends, is the baffle plate. Right. So it says remove 3 choke piston housing screws. That'll be 1. Down there's 2. And I'm guessing that one's 3. Maybe not. That's 3. Let me just go and get a couple of screwdrivers and I'll be back. Rightio. Get one that fits nicely. Not a bit too much play. Nice. And there we are. Be nothing worse to strip all these bloody screws. Oh, she's all the way down in there, that one. So my carby came with a spacer plate. Well, the carby was sitting on a spacer plate. Just give my hands a little bit more room to get at these screws. Three. Right, that retaining clip. Stick it over here with the rest of that and slide out. It's easy enough. One, 2, and 3. For now. Rightio. too easy so far. Okay, so it also asked to remove these pieces as well. Oh, sorry. So it also asked to move these pieces as well. So our little retaining clip and the rod. Now, it says remove the bowl cover, which all of this and all of this will remain there, so we're good. They're all screws, and to make it easy, the flathead screws. Oh, that one's easy. That one's easy. That one's easy. Someone's been in this before. These screws are way too loose. And if you look at the screws too, you can see that someone has had a good red hot go at them. Could be this is a second-hand carby that someone has picked up and ran with. I do have the original box, so maybe it is like a new second-hand, but it doesn't matter. I think one of the things that impresses me with carburetors is the fact that you can get an old quadrat or something that is not made anymore or is OEM, pull it apart, clean all the varnish off, put the right gaskets in it, put it all back together, and it'll work as expected. And from an engineering point of view, that's pretty impressive to be able to design something that is so functional, yet light on consumables or its rebuild factor. Personally, I am impressed with that. Right, they're all out. Lift bowl straight up, so it's saying that this should hop straight up. One of the dirtiest words in the English language, I think, is should. Something should happen. It more than likely won't. There's your retaining. Yeah, it's press fit. Not. No, it's just right in there. So I'm just tapping at the corners or at where the bolts would go through. Just lightly, just enough to try and get underneath the gasket there. Oops. Is that a screw I'm missing? Yep. You're an idiot, Andrew. An idiot. Yeah, right. Right, so here's some interesting little insights. Rusted spring, all the rusted corrosion around the bottom of the plunger, the pump there. And if we have a look a little bit closer, there's a fair bit of gunk in there. And maybe even a bit of corrosion in the bottom. Down there. Yeah, there we are. There you go. There you go. I mean, those floats don't look, well, those Venturis seem alright. These floats look a little bit worse for wear. But we'll check all them again in a sec. Rightio, so we got the top off. Following the instructions, we'll find out what the next step is. So it says remove float pins and float. That's pretty easy. They're just sliding right out there. Also said needle seat and, what did it say? Needle seat and gasket assembly. That's a gasket assembly. Aha! Needle seats. I'm not sure if they're bad or not. They look pretty good. They've obviously got a bit of corrosion or varnishing or something. Maybe not varnishing, but definitely corrosion. Just give them a little bit of a rub. They should be right. Rightio. By the looks of things, you can actually pull out. Not sure how I'm going to do that. Look at that. I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but there is a lot of gunk around those little gaskets on the seats as well. So that, let me turn that around a bit. It's got a whole bunch of gunk on it. And there's your little gasket. One thing I definitely think I'd do differently is give myself a little bit more room. I'm starting to get a little bit squashed here with the amount of... Yeah, look at that. That's gunked up again as well. Rightio. What's next? Remove plunger assembly and spring. Plunger assembly was no 29 and 30. 29 and 30. Right. That was that. Okay. This is a step-by-step, a blow-by-blow of someone who's never done this before. Kind of show you how easy or hard it is. Remove Venturi screws. That would be those. Their Torx again. 25s. Yep. They're actually quite easy to turn. Not a lot of effort involved there at all. Yep. Pretty sure I'm done with this for the moment. I'll put that out of the road so I can put some more stuff there. Are they primaries or secondaries? Alright, so these are the secondaries. And it's asking to have them marked before they come out. Problem is, I don't really have anything to mark them with. It's gonna make sense. But if I mark it with a Sharpie, then I'm kind of going to lose that when I start spraying that shit around. The carby cleaner. Maybe we'll say 1, 2 for the secondaries, 1, 2 for primaries. Leave it like that. So let's do that. Yep. Right, so if I say this, which is the power brake assist, power brake vacuum. Back, and I'll just make it a simple looking thing. Then I can say in this configuration, this is 1, this is 2. So 1, 2 for secondaries, and primaries. Also means pretty much I can't move it once I do this. Let's see how we go. Because it's asking for us to put them back in the same place. One. Let's turn it up the other way. 1. 2. Gasket came with that one. Right. That, my friends, was loose. Which makes me suggest this someone has been in this carby before. Probably as skilled as me too. Let's hope I do a better job. Learn from their mistakes. Primary number 2 in our orientation. A little push down, a little push back, a little push down. Wiggle, 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 pop. Primary number 2. Primary number 1. 1, 2. Whew. Look at that. Comes out that easy. Wow. This is pretty foul. Pretty dirty. Oh, we got a gasket off. Sweet. I'm gonna have to do a lot of cleaning up, I guess. That's why we're doing it. Primary jets and secondary jets. Primary jets, secondary jets. Is that those ones? What's the number? Is that what we're talking about? Uh-huh. So our primary jets and our secondary jets are those up in there. Right. This might actually stop me, ladies and gents, because I don't think I have a screwdriver with a blade wide enough to catch both sides of those jets. Oh yeah, can I see? There we are. Oh, what do you know? Those plates go near the bowls. I think I was meant to take them out before. Rightio. 1 second. So I'm going to say the primaries are the ones here. And then keep them with the same setup as the Venturis. So my primaries and secondaries. Yep, up there. My secondary over here. Rightio. I think it's asking to remove squirters, which are actually called pump jet screws, jet housing, gasket. Right. 35 pump jet housing. Yep. So that's your pump jets. They're your jets. Right. That's what I have this for. Sit these screws here. Little wiggle. Out she comes. The gasket is on it. That one was an easy one. I do, however, have a little bit of gasket, or a lot of gasket here. And one of the things that makes me think that this car has been sitting around for some time is that the fact that all the gaskets are kind of rotting, like they're not. I could be wrong about that, but it just feels like they haven't been sitting in fuel like enough to soak or anything like that for a long time. I'll do a video of pulling that other fuel pump apart so we can kind of have a look at what it's like and what actually might have happened. I might be killing a perfectly good fuel pump, but it'd be interesting to have a look. I think it'd be a bit of fun. Keeping an eye on where that went. It really only goes in one spot, but you know. Okay, so we can invert the fuel ball. Oh, discharge weight. That was a ball bearing as well. Having that coming out of a carburetor is not ideal. Right. Alright, so there was meant to be a check ball in there as well. I'm pretty sure it might have come out, but it didn't go anywhere that I can see. Good news is our rebuild kit has another check ball. I wonder if it'll get me to remove those. Probably not, because it's not really needed. Remove idle mixture screws and springs. Okay, I think we're good. Have a look down in there. You can see that there is a bit of build-up in, especially in here. There's a lot of carbon build-up, but in this one, it's not so much carbon as there's a little bit of carbon right at the bottom. I don't know, like it's been sitting there and it's had fluid just settling on it. Like you can see up the top there, there's a little bit of rust and whatnot. But from what I can gather, this is ready for cleaning. We're all ready for it. Might stop it here. I might go and get some air in a can, compressed air in a can. I do have an air compressor, but to get it all set up and charged and blah, 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 it's gonna take too long. So I'll leave this here. I'll get me some air in a can and I'll come back and we'll start cleaning these parts up. Alright, so I had a couple of days where I needed to do some stuff, but tonight I'm just going to power on through and get this all cleaned up and assembled. I have done a little bit of cleaning on this. I've spent a bit of time just giving it a bit of a scrub with a soft brush. You can see down here it's a little bit cleaner. Take that over. Yeah, so I've been using using this brush, which is designed for like giving things a light scrub, but I'm finding it's a little bit too big and the bristles are probably a little bit too heavy, so I've got deliberately changed my toothbrush for this, but I rub with that until it's all hunky-dory. One thing I've been trying to do is getting the carby cleaner right down that jet to kind of push out crap. So doing it both ways. Push out the gunk. The instructions tell you not to use any too abrasive, like a hard scrubbing utensil, so like soft bristled toothbrush, or this is pretty soft and gets most of the gunk out, but nothing that can score the diameter of the jets within the carby. It'll break it. It'll change the jetting just slightly. If you've ever looked at the jetting kits that you can get for your carbs and whatnot, a minor change is all you need to kind of really change your air fuel ratio. So I'm trying to use a gentle amount of pressure here. Right now I'm just trimming the head of the toothbrush down so I can, if you haven't seen these, they're bamboo toothbrushes. When you're done, but basically tonight all I'm after is getting, allows me to put it all back together. Just too many little bits and pieces around that I might want to lose, so I didn't want to leave this too long. I'm probably could have gone one step further with this and like fully disassemble, like take out the bars and whatnot, but a lot of these movements are quite free and easy, so for my first attempt at doing this, I thought I might just keep it a little bit simple, and this is enough of a challenge as it is. One thing I will say though is if you are keen and interested in cars, this is definitely something you should give a go. Like just the way the secondaries, the primaries and the secondaries open up and interact is super interesting. Like if you look at it, that's acceleration, that's harder acceleration, and that's wide open throttle. Both your primary and secondary Venturis are wide open and taking in as much air and sucking in as much air and fuel as it possibly can. It's just little things like that kind of makes sense once you see it. You kind of have another aha moment. So just a soft, non-metallic Brillo pad. Should help remove some of the extra debris. Both those holes there come into the vacuum ports for like a primary and secondary vacuum. One would suck more from the carby, this one's sucking from down in the manifold. Just learned a lesson. You're spraying this shit, use some eye protection. Just got a whole bunch of it in my freaking eye. It wasn't very much fun. Yeah, like I'm calling it. That's not too bad. So it says in the instructions that installation is the opposite of disassembly. Well, the reassembly is opposite of disassembly. So it wants us to remove the check ball. The check ball was the thing that got all of that. And a new spring. All those things. Alright, so if you've got this kind of carburetor, the Edelbrock 1406, you'll need the accelerator pump, part number 1470. I got all this on Summit, and it was easy enough to kind of go through the site and pick the right pieces, or pick the pieces that I need. There is actually a jetting kit you can get that gives you a whole bunch of different primary, secondary jets to metering rods and whatnot, and that's to help with your air fuel mixture. If you either got a slightly different setup, or let's say bigger cam or something like that, you would then be able to use that to get the desired air fuel mixture. Alright, so you look at those two pieces there, they're pretty much identical, but you can really feel like the degradation in that, like it feels old and worn. So hopefully this will give it a little bit more pep. I guess the spring's at least a little bit more willing and interested. Yeah, much better. Look at that. It's corrosion on some of these parts too. So. Guess you don't want to scrub this too hard, because pretty much like everything in the carby, it's all balanced and clearance to suit a certain range of performance, not a specific performance, but a general. I guess you don't want to get too carried away with something that's highly abrasive, because you'll end up with a change in your carby and your carby setup that either may not suit the rest of your setup. Like if you've got a standard vehicle like myself, if you're trying to get a set performance or a specific feel and style out of it, make too many changes and you'll get a pleasant surprise, I guess, or an unpleasant surprise, depends on what you're after, right? And it's not to say the parts are flimsy, it's just taking care where it's required. When I was trying to pull the top off before, you saw before, I was getting a little bit greedy, a little bit hasty. If I had kept going, that wouldn't have boded well for the carby. There's a little bit of scoring where I got the screwdrivers in. It's just kind of lucky I didn't get too successful with that. But I mean, it's nothing that won't affect, that'll affect the carby. It's not like it's ruined it. It's just a little bit too manhandly with it. Rightio. There's all these things in here. Saw that little spring around here somewhere. I don't know where that one goes. I didn't see that come off anywhere. I was doing the carby, so A little bit of care is going to be required to put this all back together, I think. Alright, that's the one that goes in the middle there like that. Sweet. This one I'm not sure. This one is obviously underneath. Oh, this one probably goes on top, on the top case. So I have given that a pretty good scrub out too, so that's all good there. But that makes a lot of sense. There's a couple of bits here that I'm gonna have to just take my time and really pay attention to. And that is mostly because as I was pulling this apart, I noticed some of the parts that are in there are not on the carburetor. There's a counterweight there, screws, squirters. So in here I do have a lot of that. Like I have one set, two sets. Oh, sweet. I have two sets of these, so I think these are jets with metering. Cool. So the kit really does give you everything. Like, they've even got a weight and a metering ball in there, so they're the two things I need, I think, to start off with. So, starting off with this part here, I believe. Let's go. Let's get this done. Alright, so for cleaning, I'm just going to use this silk shirt that I bought in Thailand about 15. It actually lasted me for about 10 years before it started to fall apart. It now makes a great rag for looking after your parts, car parts. Right. That's a half. That's one. That's 1.5. So idle mixture screws are to be set initially at 1.5 turns to 2 turns. So I'm guessing that's it's just a guess, like I guess it depends on your car again, right? So I'll start at 1.5 and it's not idling, then you can bump it up just a little bit and give it two turns, that is. There's a little bit of build up on some of this stuff. Just going to try and get a little bit of it off just by like a gentle rub. Nothing too serious. I am erring on the side of caution, like as I said before, this is the first carb that I've pulled apart. Hopefully I'll get it back together all nice and neat and correct again. Only time will tell. But it's screwing in nicely. So I'm just tightening it down till it seats. Right, so that's seated. It's pointing that way, so that's one. Well, that's half. That's one. That's a half. So that's 1.5 there. Yeah, so the ball weight and the gasket, and then the squirters. Pro tip, if you ever wanted to give this a go, set up a space that's clean, which I have done. Just set up more of that space. This is just not enough. Alright, don't want to lose this little ball. So it's down there. Right. The metering weight. Not sure if you're going to be able to see this very well, but that's the metering weight that I pulled out, and that's the metering weight that's going back in. So just like that. What do you know, I found the old ball. There you go. So I could have probably used that again, but got the new stuff, might as well give it a go. Right, these look pretty good, but I'm just gonna it's pretty damn good actually. Squirting a fair bit of cleaner through them, so they looks like they're pretty free. It's kind of the biggest thing I'm a bit concerned about now is the car's been sitting there, there's a whole bunch of gunk in the carburetor, so it's obviously clogged it up in spots, and some parts of it are not very clean, or they're corroded or gunked up. So that just goes there like that. All right, so we've got the squirter and primary secondary gaskets. soft aluminium, so I'm not trying to turn this too hard, just enough to get it well seated. Like that's not going to move. And then there's a bolt that comes from the top right down through here, so that's going to hold it as well. Yeah, so there's no torque settings on this, which is probably good because the torque spanner is small enough to support this kind of thing. Sometimes if you get confused with some of this stuff, you can use like a powers of deduction, I guess. Let me try and explain this. You can see the opening here. It has that little galley there. That's got like a cutout. So that there's got a cutout that matches that galley. So comfortable it would go there. But if you're unsure, like, I'll place that there for the moment because I think that's where that goes. And that's where that one goes. But you look at these ones, they kind of follow the outline and whatnot that goes over there as well. So, and of course you can check your instructions. So then these go in there. Make sure that all lines up correctly. And it seats nicely. Jet housing and pump jet screws. That's a jet housing. Alright, primary and secondary jets are next. So what do we say? This one was on the bottom side because this is pointing out. This went here. So just trying to be gentle with this because of the copper parts. They're not very stiff. So if you bump them too hard, they might break. You can see some improvement, like for airflow on these things. Like they're obviously cast pieces that have been bonded together in some sort of heating form, but you probably get a die in here and give this a bit of a smooth over, get a bit of better airflow performance out of this. But for now, I'm not worried about any of that. I really just want to drive this car down the road and enjoy it. The performance fun will come later on. That's interesting. So when I pulled the secondaries off initially, there was gunk down this hole here. That is gone. So I think we're in a much better position than we were a while back when we started. Also, the mating surface on this one looks pretty damn good. As the other one had a bit of residue of the gasket and whatnot. This one, on the other hand, is quite clean. These Venturis are a little bit, Venturis. Yeah, Venturis are a little bit more worse for wear, honestly. Probably should be wearing gloves. I been hammering pretty hard at the car in the last couple of weeks or a month or so. The reason for that is because uni starts in the next couple of weeks. Well, it's actually already started. It'll pick up in the next couple of weeks, and I kind of wanted to get like a big chunk of this done before it all started. So probably should be wearing gloves. I've got little cuts and scratches from wrenching on the car, and I can feel it stinging right now. It's only ether and whatnot, isn't it? It says not to get in contact with skin. So there's a little bit of gunk around some of these bolts. I'm not exactly sure if it's Loctite or anything like that, but loosening it didn't feel like Loctite. Like it wasn't like a firm click before it came loose. So I don't know what it is. Just get rid of it and keep moving forward, I guess. These are secondaries, so the outside. These are primaries, they are down here. Come over close here. So it's 120, but you can kind of see there's a fair bit of gunk in that. Give them a gentle rub with a toothbrush. This is a primary. Yeah, nice. Just a gentle squirt and it's all good. Perfect. I'll give that another bit of a tighten in a minute, but for now, it's enough. Okay, so yeah, tap it in, then get your screwdriver in there. Turn it back until you can feel the thread jump. There, and turn it back in. Just finger tight for now. Shit. Jesus Christ. It's dark down there. And there's crap down there too. That was not a pleasant moment. Use the same strategy as before. Move it back until you feel the threads skip, and then tighten her up. There we go. After cleaning it, you know what I forgot, don't you? So out of all of that part, the two parts I was a bit concerned about was one, forgetting to put the ball and the weight in, and two, putting that weighted weighted valve or air check or whatever it is. It's probably a proper name for it. It's number 42, the auxiliary valves and weights. So it's auxiliary valves and weights. So I was a little bit concerned about leaving that out, and I did. But we haven't tightened anything down, so I'm going to do that now while it's on my mind. I'm not going to tighten these too hard because they're obviously copper. Obviously turn them until they seat nicely, but I'm not going to put way too much pressure on them. They kind of, yeah, perfect. Right, give the rest of it a bit of a tighten down. So I'm noticing every time I turn one side, the other side must compress a bit, and I can turn the other side a little bit more. Let's give the gaskets just a little bit of time to bed a little bit, and they give just a little bit more. little baffles. They can go in now. I think that was it for this part of the carburetor. I think the rest of it comes from there to the top. Alright, so it's asking to remove this, and obviously I've got that wrong. The spring goes down in there, and then your plunger at the top there. So that means we're at the top of the carby again. Needle seat and gasket assembly. Alright, so let me just set some of this aside. Rightio. I'm guessing these are the needle seats and gaskets. Let's find out. I do need this one, because this one goes on here. I'm assuming like that. Like that, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so they'll go on there like that. Sweet. That was very wrong, because that's going to go on there like that. The reason for that is your bowl and your connector went underneath like that, and if I was to do it the way I just wanted to try and do it then, we have a bit of a problem, because this part of the gasket doesn't allow it to come down. Needle seat and gasket assembly. So it all comes with everything required there. Cool. Sorry guys, so I'm just trying to put the little filter that goes in there, like that. There's also a gasket here somewhere. The gasket's like a metallic sort of thing. Screws on quite easily like that. The difference between those two, you've got filthy and beautiful. They're about the same length too, so we should be right. It slides in there like that. Is my screwdriver not big enough? So we use this, our specialist tool. I'm only just doing, again, just finger tight until I've got it understood and sorted out. Looks like it's in pretty nicely. That's nice. Yeah, right. Same thing for the other side. Screw that on. Bit of advice if you are doing this, I would use the lightest touch you have just to start off with, just a almost like test fit stuff. Because even though it runs an engine, I can kind of feel how delicate this stuff is. You feel like that. I'm starting to botch that up. It's pretty good. It's about the same length. It's nice and straight. Slips in there all right. That is not the proper tool, but there we go. So I'm just trying to figure out where that piece goes, and it looks like it goes in the like the inlet port for fuel. Goes in there like that, or no, not like that. That makes more sense. That fits easier. So if I put that in there like that and I tighten this up, this is going to push against the little filter that we had for this up inside up inside this part here, which I'm not sure if it'll be much of a problem. It'll still fit in, I guess. Maybe I can trim it up somehow. Yeah, that's where that goes. Put it in there for now. I believe the floats are the next thing that I need to put in. Now there's some diagrams here about how the floats should be set. So both how much clearance there should be between the gasket here and the float, which is a 7/16 drill bit, and the other part is how much of a drop you get. And so on your float, it's asking you to bend this here to get the correct float position, but then also asking you to bend this part here to get the correct amount of float drop. So yeah, see how we go. I do have floats here somewhere, right in front of me. Part 1469 from edelbrock. Oof. Right. Difference between those is marked, isn't it, huh? They're pretty symmetrical. It doesn't really matter which one's which. You get new hinge rods as well. So let's just have a quick look at how they are installed to make sure I don't stuff that up. This little tab is facing down. So just like that. There we go. We are good. Let me get a drill bit and I'll be back. Believe it or not, I do not have a 7/16 drill bit. Right, so here's the deal. 7/16 of an inch is about 1.1 millimeters. So I should be able to put this down here like this and then bend that up to about there. And it's looking right at the end too, so that's a fair bit of a bend. So that, yeah, that's 1.1 centimeters. That works. Pretty confident with that. I do like the idea of using the drill bit, but obviously if you don't have a drill bit, you've got to improvise, right? To be honest, this stuff is bending like the brass it is. It's only 6 mil. 9 mil. Another 2 mil bend, we should be good. Might have been a bit much there. That is 1.1. Do another check of this one. Right at the end here. Yeah, that's a little bit too high, I think. Like a full mil too high. Way too much. Yep. That's 1.1 thereabouts. Right here. Yep. Right. Now, the other aspect is how much it drops. And this is meant to be a 23.8 millimeter drop. Geez, that's gonna be hard. That's way down there. So, without affecting our previous changes, we're gonna bend that one in. About right. About right too. So I think that means that we can put this on top of this now. Just figured out what this is for. Let me take this off again. Very gently. That's better. That's much closer. I'm kind of finding it's easier to go under than creep up on it. So for this one, I'm setting it about 2.2, or at the moment it's about 2.1, and then just give it little gentle pulls to get closer to where it's meant to be. Seems like it's a better feels like it's a better method. So that's one, just a little bit less than 1.1. So there we go. Yeah, that's way too much. Bring it down. Yep, 1.1. Now lift it, and it should be yep, that's on par. That's good. I'm happy with that. Guess if it isn't performing how it should, then I'll have to redo it. But all right, so just a quick detail. When putting this on, part is the plunger there, the accelerator pump, but that little brass breather for the primary Venturis. There's one over here too. A bit harder to see. They were a bit of a challenge. Well, just got to be careful of those when you put on like the pump, yeah, but those little breather holes for the carby are a bit more important. All right, let's just do a quick review of what is left. That still there with that. That's still there with that. I don't need those things. They are all used. The old floats. Yep, that's all good. I'll figure out where that goes in a minute. Got clips. More clips. Yeah, it looks like we're on the home stretch here. Just got to put the metering rods in. These babies. And should be good to go. We're ready to put the bowl cover back on. So that's these screws. This is the only really long one. I'm pretty sure it went down there. Right, one thing I would change is go and get some screws that either Phillips head, your Torx head, or hex hex bolts. Just because with your flathead screws it just slips around, and these are starting to get a little bit worn. Like you can see where someone's tried to rip them open before and they've slipped and not had a proper not a proper seat or not a proper grip when they've tried to put some pressure onto that. Just doing a secondary check to make sure that I've got all the pieces in, because I do have a bunch of pieces here that are from somewhere. Don't know where. I'm guessing they're just spares. They're auxiliary spares. From what I can see on here, there's none of that stuff that's part of this, or that's part of this kit. So let's just go through the box. So I did read somewhere that this kit is for multiple iterations of this carburetor. So it could be that these parts are, some of these parts are for that. Obviously that is just to go one of the valves there. Then your clips for the electric choke, and there's like little grommets and stuff there. Good thing is they actually give you a whole bunch of extra extra little clips like that. So if you lose any, which is 100% possible because I've got a whole bunch of these clips. I went and bought about 20 of them, little C clips that fit quite nicely for this carburetor, because there was some missing, and when I first got the car, took one off and it just disappeared. So I'm very grateful for the fact that they give you a few extras. Straight through. Good stuff. Don't have to do too much wiping up with this stuff. It evaporates pretty quickly. Yeah, for someone who hasn't done this before, I'd rate it relatively low on the difficulty scale. If 1 to 10, I'd give this about a 5. It's not hard, but it's definitely just keeping an eye on where things are, laying them out nicely. Like the way I've got it laid out, I'm actually quite pleased at myself for that. That is in there, isn't it? Nope. It's obviously out here somewhere. I'll have a look. I think that's on. Alright. Alright, so let's start adding these pieces back on. Problem with big fingers and little parts. Yep, we're good. I'll leave that for the moment and I'll put the electric choke on. This goes right there. And a locator dot. New gasket. So I got a new gasket. Maybe. Feels like it's a bit big. Right, so there is a bit of there's a line there, so I should be able to get that, twist it around and hold it to the, you just saw that, see that? Right, so that's 0, and then you've got running it a little bit more lean or a little bit more advanced, which doesn't really want to seem to do advanced, but yeah, a little bit more lean it will do. Rightio. So that's all in and done. So now we've got interesting. This is exciting. Right. Saying before that these metering rods are pretty gunked up, so just going to give them a gentle rub with some steel wool here. Just nothing too bad. That's all right. That's what I need. So line up your clip, slide that down, through, bring her around underneath. There we are, she's in. Do the other one. Again here, got your clip side, the other side of the spring, pull the spring down, slide that in, and then your clip top. That big fingers problem again. Jeez. There you go. She's on. How do they go in? Spring up underneath your the check valve, is it? Number 3. Step up piston, it's called. And your rod goes down the little hole. There we are. That's moving pretty freely up and down in there. That's a good sign, considering it wasn't when I first started this, so that means we're moved in the right direction. Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting little lesson. There you go. Get it down the seat down in there. It's a size 20 Torx head. No, it's not. Smaller than that again. 15. Yep. That's pretty much finger tight. That's good. All right. Right. This one next. As you can kind of see, it takes a little bit of playing to get it right. If I'm looking at the documentation, the diagrams, it's saying that this piece lives like that. Well, that is the wrong piece altogether. But if I put it in there like that, it fits perfect, not a problem at all. Then I've got standard acceleration, then wide open throttle. Yeah, that feels like it's right. Alright. Little C-clip. She's on. That should be rebuilt. So, makes sense. Wide open throttle, wide open throttle. Let's face it, that's the most important part, right? Wide open throttle. Yeah, sweet. I will tweak that once the car's back up and running. But for now, that is good to go. I still do have some parts left over. A bottom gasket, important. Gasket around the top there, that's important. It's great actually, I'm glad I got that because I lost the other one. I got additional rubbers for the plunger, but this didn't ask for say to change that. Let me double check that because I could be wrong. Yeah, so you just see here it's got the 1405, 1406, 1400s and the different holes that are associated with it. 1405, 1406 are the middle hole, so that was what I was playing with around just here. So the 1405 and the 1406, from what I understand, is the only difference is 1405 has a mineral choke, 1406 is electric. Don't quote me on that. Just from my research, that's what I've noticed. But you'll also notice that it's got the bend, so that means that my little bit of work here looks like it might be wrong. So let's fix that while we're here. And then it's time for me to get to bed. It's midnight here. Yeah, she's on. Give it another little squirt and see if she's alright. Yeah, that's your normal acceleration, wide open throttle. A little bit of extra. Good stuff. Right, yeah. Gasket on the bottom, that'll go on there later. That was missing, but now we're good. Gasket on the top for air cleaner. I'll do that later too, it's not a big issue. One last thing. This one. Now, I do have a fuel filter before all of this, so technically I shouldn't need it, but let's see if I can get it to fit anyway. Get it to fit nicely at least. Squeeze it all the way in. Okay, and then I'll squeeze it out. That actually turned out quite well. I'm not sure if you can see up in there, but it didn't really interfere with that other, my previous concern where I had the, yeah, so up in there, I was worried it was going to squash that and crimp it in a way that would cause it to be ineffective, but didn't, so in she goes. All right, let's do a parts check. Rightio, so no parts left on the table. Everything was used, nothing underneath there. This is all back. Just check it upside down. Right. actually moving a lot freer now. Idle screw. Right, we are good. Right, so that's the carby rebuilt. That's the first one that I've ever done. Like I said, I would give that maybe a 5 out of 10 in difficulty. It's not hard. There's just a lot of little pieces, and they kind of expect to be in a specific way. Parts that I would say are not easy. Really just following the diagram and how some of the pieces fit. Making sure that you get a good seat in the screws and whatnot, so you don't strip them, because if you strip any of these, it's going to be a nightmare to pull them out. Be delicate with it. Yeah, it's a done and dusted exercise. I'm very, very happy with how that worked. Excited now to get it on the car and see how it runs. But that'll be in a couple of future episodes. I'm not sure when. Uni just kicked off again, so that's going to take up a lot of my time. Looking forward to it though. It's going to be a lot of practical experience in that. But I'm really glad I did this. I really am. This is something that I think any or every car enthusiast should have a go at. Looking and seeing how things work and how the fuel is delivered kind of makes a lot of sense when you start to look at an engine and what it is and how it works. And all the exciting stuff starts here. An engine's nothing without fuel, spark, or air. So, sweet. I'm gonna leave it there for tonight. Take care. If you're liking the series or liking the videos, hit me up. Shout out, say hello. I'd love to hear your thoughts and views on some of this stuff. On what I'm doing, either if it's right or wrong, especially if it's wrong, if you've got like some advice that you'd like to impart, I'm all for it. Like I've said in the past, one of the main reasons for doing this for me is a bit of a catalogue of the build and the car itself. Hopefully in years time my boys will be able to have a look back and go, "Dad, you're an idiot," but that was a bit of fun to watch. In years time I can look at it and say, well, that's the car I built, this is the experience, this is what I went through, this is how I went with it. Just a bit of fun. But the other part that I really enjoy is connecting with other guys that are interested in building cars in general. Interested in big block FEs for sure, and interested in the full body Fords like the Galaxie. I've been eyeing off a 65 or a 66 Galaxie over in the States. I would like to make one of those electric, so not sure about this. I like the idea of hearing the engine rumble and make it all it sounds, but I am keen to take maybe a 66, make it electric, make it a driver's car, and go from there. So if you hear of a cheap 66 going, 66 Ford Galaxie with without a transmission, without an engine, so just a complete basically rolling shell, and interior would be good, bucket seats fun, but I'm happy with bench as well. Hit me up. But for now, hit like, hit subscribe, definitely comment. I don't really care about the other two. Definitely comment, and I'll keep putting out content as long as I'm working on this car. Give this a go. If anyone's unsure about it, just do it. Get it, pull it apart, be meticulous. be meticulous. Look at, make sure each part that you pull off goes in one spot and it doesn't move. Don't shift them around. Put them in their separate spots, locations. Write down who they are and where they come from, and you'll be fine. This is not hard. It looks complicated, 100% I agree with that, but it's not as hard as you think. Cheers.